Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Hall of Fame baseballer Yogi Berra, and not to be confused with the cartoon character Yogi Bear, Yogi Berra once said, "Baseball is 90% mental, the other half is physical." And while that's quite an amusing quote, no doubt you've actually heard varying theories about mental preparedness and how much it impacts high-performance athletes. I mean, one of the theories after Anthony Joshua's loss to Andy Ruiz Jr. back in June was that he wasn't dialed in mentally. He just wasn't there, and there were all manner of things that were discussed among fans in relation to that. But whatever the case, he can't get that one back. He can only move forward, and I've been thinking about some of the intangible things related to the rematch, and who actually, in this case, who has the mental edge. And my first thought, well, it must be Ruiz Jr. because of past events, but I guess it's never really that simple, is it? And I will come to Ruiz Jr. a little bit later on, but I wanted to start with Joshua because obviously, likely a few mental battle scars from the first fight that he's been trying to overcome. And that first fight, his first fight in America, it was meant to springboard him down another path to the one that he now finds himself on. Ultimately, it turned into an American nightmare, a failure so great it reverberated around the world. It was big news almost everywhere. Just think about it yourself, the pressure, the expectation, and then flaming out in such spectacular fashion with Ruiz Jr. putting a beating on Joshua. It's got to hurt, and it's got to hurt deep and bad. I mean, despite the smiles, the statements, it's got to have cut to Joshua's core. It's something that will be in the conversation as one of the biggest upsets in boxing for a long, long time. Like Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas, Joshua and Ruiz, it's in that same conversation, probably for time immemorial. I mean, initially in the weeks after the fight, Joshua, he tried to rationalize that first knockdown, from which he never really recovered. I certainly didn't think he really ever got his bearings back. But he said that punch from the third round, it was a punch sent from the gods. And I know that sort of talk had more than a few eyebrows raised, people wondering aloud if he was damaged goods. Was he still dinged up mentally from the first fight? Was he still concussed? People were saying these things. Would he be right? And I think with all known fighters, they say all manner of things before fights to get themselves up mentally, and all manner of things after fights to justify why they either lost or didn't perform. You can probably think of a dozen examples just off the top of your head. More recently, Joshua has described the changes he's had to make for this rematch as fixing cracks in the foundation. He's brought in additional help like Angel Fernandez. And no doubt some of the rationalization, after the loss and as he prepares for the rematch, and some of the changes that he's making will no doubt have had a positive impact on his mental preparedness for the rematch. And most likely he's probably been working with a mental skills coach, which is very common these days for elite athletes, although not often understood properly by some fans. But ultimately, you can plan, adjust, you can try focus your mental state. But crunch time, it's going to come in the ring. Ultimately, only Joshua knows what's going on inside his head and if he's overcome any mental anguish which was inflicted from the first fight. I know some people will want to say, it was a loss, he's moved on, so should you. And you're entitled to that opinion, but the first fight, it wasn't any old fight, and neither is the rematch. And despite being the challenger, Joshua is still carrying the weight of expectation of millions of fans as he looks to gain revenge just 5 and a bit months on from a moment in boxing history that he was on the wrong end of. I mean, maybe he's been galvanized from the experience. Maybe he's had his passion for the sport reignited because after the loss, he did speak of needing to get the passion back. And that was an interesting admission in itself. And there will no doubt be a point in the fight where he'll come under intense pressure. How will he respond, not only physically but mentally? Will he bite down on his gum shield, dig in, carry on, or will he slowly fold if Ruiz is starting to gain the ascendancy? And I think we can all think of moments in boxing history, big fights, where there's been a moment where one fighter has gained confidence from something that's happened, or indeed has started to wilt in front of our eyes. I mean, as it is, there's many fans that believe Joshua quit in the first fight, and many fans who believe he'll do so again in the rematch if things get tough. And I guess that's part of why this rematch is so fascinating. I mean, will Joshua not only be able to, adjust and implement a game plan that will work for him, but will he show up mentally? Will he be dialed in and go in beast mode or not? I mean, already the knives have been out in recent months for Joshua from a lot of fans, and some predict he will retire if he loses. And make no mistake, it's a big moment, one of the biggest in boxing this year. I mean, what version of Joshua will show up? Is he carrying mental scars, and will any manifest in the ring? On the flip side, for Andy Ruiz Jr., as the champion, he will want to prove it just wasn't a one-off, a fluke, that he can do it again, that he's got Anthony Joshua's number, and that he can go on to be a heavyweight champion of note. He's already got a legion of new fans and admirers who expect that he will win, and that given the sort of how the first fight unfolded, that he is going to batter Anthony Joshua. There's a great weight of expectation on his shoulders. It's not just on Joshua who's looking to respond to a loss, but Ruiz has it all on his shoulders as well. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot on the line. And because he was able to beat Joshua up so conclusively the first time, he and his team will have to battle against complacency and overconfidence. And Ruiz has been making a number of, regular derogatory statements about Joshua, and he's just not that good, just not a good boxer, etc. And also, many fans have been asking in recent months after the win on June 1st, what impact does becoming champion have on Ruiz Jr.? Millions of dollars, newfound, fame, fortune, new famous friends. Everybody wants a slice of the champ. It can and has changed people before. And there is something about being champion and all the things that come with it, all the trimmings that you have to try, guard against and make sure you can stay grounded, stay humble, try to keep your feet firmly on the ground and focus on the task at hand. Ruiz and his team are saying the right things. They look to have trained hard, but ultimately the proof will be in the pudding come fight night. And what happens if Joshua manages in the fight to start frustrating him for round after round, using height and reach, keeping him from making it to the inside, and Joshua's having success landing, scoring shots on Ruiz? How will he respond? And we also just have to toss into the equation here for Andy Ruiz Jr. There's a chance he may get mentally weary in the final days in the lead up to the fight week activities and such, the push and the pull of the outside of the ring commitments. Before the first fight, as a late stand-in opponent who was not expected to win, the burden of media and other obligations, that all fell to Joshua. Ruiz was unable to slide under the radar for the most part. It will be a more shared load this time, a heavier load like nothing Ruiz Jr. has experienced before. Anthony Joshua, he's more, used to that. Andy Ruiz Jr., not so much. Will he be able to mentally stay fresh as he's got 1,000,001 things coming at him? But fame, fortune, legacy, expectation, all part of this fight or outcomes from it. Who will deal with the mental side better? Let me know. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.